All right, here we go again. Buckle up, rough roads ahead. All right, so nothing against Chrissy Noam. I was just hoping to see another Tom Homan, uh, because DHS is has a dual mission. They deport undocumented immigrants, but we also help, or they and we. I guess I help them. I'm part of something, but I'm not in that particular thing as far as uh, having a job there or anything. But we maintain a rapport with undocumented immigrants, and we, what's going to have to happen. So, because law enforcement, it suffers with deportation. People don't want to come in and speak to us about things, and by the nature of DHS, we need immigrants, whether they be undocumented or not, to speak to us. So she knows. Again, she's not an ignorant person. She's been a governor. She's run border operations from up there with National Guard type people. But there's a finesse to law enforcement. There's an illusion. I wouldn't say it's necessarily illusion, but it has to be an illusion to a certain degree because undocumented immigrants um, will benefit from telling, from bringing in, going into DHS and saying, "Here's the truth." And when I say DHS, it's usually the agent on the street. So there's these programs that if an undocumented immigrant tells us the truth, they get benefit. Now it's not automatic. They have to tell us the truth. It has to be a case. It has to be real. It has to be valuable, I imagine, to a certain degree. I don't know how free they are with it. You'd have to ask them. But what I'm saying is, Christine, you need to brief her very early on that part of the mission. And actually, she can benefit from being part of speaking about the victims of trafficking and those programs. That's what we want. We want them to know that if they come in and give us a DEA type case or even a sex trafficking case, that there is a possibility that they're going to get um, amnesty. So again, the pressure of the deportation can be used a slight advantage. And again, it probably cancel. It probably like zeros out, because if you're not deporting, then they come in and they tell you stuff because they're not worried. But again, they do worry about being harmed. So it's a very strong benefit that if we're deporting at a high level, if you're a victim of a crime, or of a criminal organization victimizing people, sex trafficking, narcotics distribution, DHS could, based upon that type of assistance, provide an amnesty. So it's kind of, because in a normal circumstance, it's not as important, where deportation isn't going to be a prime view, or a prime mover, or whatever they want to call it, where it's almost the number one thing. Like if you think about DHS today, that's where most undocumented immigrants are beginning to think. They're going to be deported. Right? As far as that guy, crying about his mother, that's a scam. I believe. I believe he was trying to get somebody to go in there and either raid it, or harass them or something. Because why would he say she doesn't have a dog? It doesn't make any sense. It sounds like, okay, you can go in there. Don't worry, she doesn't have a dog. Right? Whoever's in there, he wanted harassed, I think, giving up the apartment number and everything. So again, we don't want to be that. We don't want the weirdo stuff that's online. DHS needs to try to stay away from the hype. Again, Homan has already spoken. He can only say what he's going to say. He knows how it runs, also. So there are undocumented people that we do take care of. There are people that in his career, even when he was a younger guy, that there was an undocumented person, he took care of them. Right? Because he just felt, his gut feeling is that these people deserve a break today. Right? It's not favoritism or anything. Every so often, a law enforcement officer meets people that have earned some assistance. So that's, as far as DHS doing its law enforcement mission. Um, it needs to maintain that dual mission where it deports immigrants and it helps immigrants at the same time. Even if they're undocumented, we'll go in and we'll say, okay, you're a victim of a sex crime. We need you to testify in court, and they can't go home after that. They have to receive amnesty. So That's probably the strength. We did it last time for a while. I think even Trump said something on the victims. Well, because it'll kill the assistance unless you start. I try to project it as a kind of psychic thought and voice that there are, there are ways out. But a lot of times I receive kind of weird things back, like them. So again, that may be an illusion, or a cop is crooked. They may not know they can speak to the cop. Sometimes that is done to keep sex trafficked people from reporting the crime. They're brainwashed into believing that the cop is dirty, and some cops are dirty. It's one of the things that messes up the mission. My voice looks like it's kind of low here. No idea what's going on here. Not sure. All right, is that better? Let me see. It's a little loud. So actually, it was where it probably needed to be. Well, again, she's not a complete civilian, but she's more of a civilian than I would have expected in that position based upon what we're doing. So you just have to teach her some of the law enforcement stuff as to how you do both missions. We can't we If we're always speaking about deporting without election is one thing, but when we start doing the next whatever number of years they do that kind of thing, there needs to be a balance. People need to know that there are ways for DHS to help people that would normally be deported, because we don't want sex traffic victims not to come forward because they're afraid of deportation. We want them to understand the reverse could happen. You come in, you stand tall, you're brave. You come in, you see us, you tell us, hey, over here, and you tell them what's going on. It checks out, and then somebody offers you the program. So that's very important that we speak about that, because what's generally starting to happen is people that would normally feel comfortable speaking to law enforcement won't, because they're afraid of deportation. So again, all I'm saying is I'm understanding from the blip I'm receiving is there are people in DHS that are ready to receive Christine Noem if in fact that goes forward and she's appointed and everything works there. Um, and they know the stuff, and they're going to, I don't know if they were planning to explain it to her, but they were going to operate it. But again, she's going to be a big voice for DHS. So we need to make sure that she understands that we do stand up for undocumented immigrants that are victims of crimes, and we use them to help prosecute. So that's just the important thing to remember, to just don't try to do it yourself and not tell her, because it could get screwed up. Right? And I think she can understand it. It's just another aspect of law enforcement that some people don't understand. And they, they'll say, yeah, deport that person. You may never, you don't know. Right. Well, again, really, you get to the point. I was designing a program where they go to work. The problem is they didn't push them into that. They allowed them to sit around and do nothing, and that's where the scam. And then they had bus trips across the United States for free. So that kind of messed stuff up. Right? You have to, and like if you let somebody stay, you got to make sure you get them into a better life. If somebody's a sex trafficking victim, you find them a better life. You don't just let them out there where they end up in sex trafficking again, and now they're on their way to naturalization because you gave them a visa or something. So, yeah, it's just because she's just really partially a civilian still. So again, you have to pull her in. You have to show her the stuff and what DHS does, and how what Trump does sometimes messes up the work. So there's things we can do to alleviate that. I already started speaking, because I guess it just happens automatically when Trump gets in there, that we need to remind the community of undocumented people that we do accept information, and if the information checks out, and I don't know. Again, I don't know what the cutoff is, where they say no, you don't get visa, and where they say you get the visa. So that's another thing that you might want to kind of explain, because we want people to come in. They want to see, you see a hidden agenda jacket, or they see was it HSI. We want them to walk up to that person and feel comfortable speaking to them. We don't want them to think, hey, I'm going to be deported. If they're a victim of a crime, and as an undocumented immigrant, we have programs to help them. If again, you have to explain the cutoff, because I don't know what it is. And that's one of the advantages um, from a deportation program because yes, they're afraid, but yes, they're going to seek that. And we want to help people. We want people to feel comfortable and not obligated, but they feel like that's where they want to go. That's the best thing for them is to get out of this thing, go to an HSI officer or something. Again, I don't know about local police. I'm hearing some are corrupt, but I'm not anywhere in my life right now. I can't be for sure. I'm not like working as a like in a lot of apartment complexes I lived in the communities, and I would help. I wasn't like an informant, but I would help them as they needed help. Maybe getting into a building, and I'd have conversations with them, or we find stolen vehicles. Maybe somebody shooting off rounds, trying to figure out who that was, that kind of thing. So as we move into that different mode, that different uh, way of doing business, we need to ensure that we maintain a rapport with victims of crime. When I say let's go into Mexico, that's to help the Mexican people also. Again, no kid should have to grow up in a place like that. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do.